Hello there, boys and girls. How are we doing? My name is Alan, and it's that time again. Let's talk metal. Got some very cool albums to talk about tonight. We are looking at some EPs and some mini LPs from American heavy metal bands, and we're going to stick to the years 1983, 1984, and 1985. Some of the classic heyday of traditional pure heavy metal in the United States. By that time, bands across the land had learned the lessons from Iron Maiden, Judas Priest, Motorhead, Accept, and others, and American metal was alive and well, and you had bands all across the nation popping up, recording some really cool stuff. In subsequent years that would continue, but things would kind of splinter into thrash, death, glam. Metal would go in a lot of different directions. 83, 84, 85, you're still getting a lot of just, pure 100% undiluted heavy metal. And that's what we're going to be listening to a bit tonight. So without further ado, let's start off in Bakersfield, California, with a band called TRAITOR. The EP is known as Shot Down. Let's check out a little bit of the track, Feel the Steel. All right, there is a little bit of TRAITOR for you. Good, slow pounder in the classic heavy metal style. TRAITOR, unfortunately, didn't get a lot of other material out there. They also made a single that was a flexi disc. So yeah, one of those things that they put in Decibel magazine nowadays, almost as a novelty. Those were used back then, and they do have a picture flexi disc with a different version of Feel the Steel and another song on it. Really cool, 5 tracks on the TRAITOR mini LP. I guess 5 songs is one too many for an EP, maybe. It doesn't really matter. But yeah, all the songs are in that really cool traditional style. Band members did not go on to other projects, really, to my knowledge. And yeah, not a whole lot of material out there, which is a shame. The Flexi and the EP both show up from time to time. Little hard to track down, but definitely worth it for fans of that style of heavy metal. They are, to my ears, very reminiscent of the Chicago sound from that era. A lot of those Chicago bands had a little bit of that very heavy and almost doomy edge worked into their traditional heavy metal. Bands like Warcry, Trouble, of course, being one of the better known ones, Battalion. I think TRAITOR fits into that mold very, very well, even though they were a West Coast band. All right, check them out if you're interested, but we're going to move right on here to band number 2 for the night. And this time we're looking at a 7-inch EP by a bunch of Jersey boys who called themselves The Beast. And let's check out a little bit of this one. Let's see, what track have I queued up for us? We're going to hear one called, well, The Beast. So, checking out a little bit of The Beast by The Beast. Really good EP. It has a really high energy to it. It's got kind of a strong punky vibe worked into a lot of the music, and probably paying a lot of tribute to Motorhead there as well with that style of metal. It's a cool little EP. It's gotten a cult following over the years. A lot of people really enjoy this one and reference it more than you would expect for one of these small, kind of privately pressed EPs. This one out of 1983. The Beast did have a little more recorded output. They showed up on a couple of compilation albums, and they also showed up on a split release that was on Megaforce in 1984. And I always forget the name of it. Let me double check this real quick. Oh, here. It was called Born to Metalize. It was a split affair with, let's see, other bands on it were Sneak Attack, Tortured Dog, and Hades. Hades was the best known of the acts on it. But yeah, The Beast was on there with some tracks too. I remember seeing this album back in the day. It's really weird looking that it's kind of a badly drawn watercolor of like somebody's room essentially with a big pink dresser and stuff on it, but there's also like some handcuffs on the bed. So I guess it's like, ooh, kinky or something. I remember thinking the cover looked extremely lame, and that's why I never bought the record. But yeah, it does have some cool stuff on it. There's also an anthology of material with the Beast that was put out a while back. I've heard different people cite that it was or was not legit. Not sure about that. They had a lot of guys kind of come in and out of the ranks over the years. I was trying to think if there was, I'm thinking there was a connection that I wanted to mention for one of these members. Oh, yeah, a couple of them did end up in the band Ripping Corpse towards the later part of the 1980s. So some of them did have life beyond the Beast project. Regardless, very cool EP, the very distinctive picture sleeve there with, I don't know, demon, devil, my seventh grade gym teacher. I'm not sure what that is, but I ain't going to mess with that. Instead, we're going to move right on to our next entry for the night. That one is going to be a band out of Wisconsin, and they're called Blacklist. They did this one 12-inch 4-track EP called The Sign of Four. And so let's take a listen to that, see what these guys sound like. This will be a track called Sin Sentence. All right, a little bit of Sin Sentence from Wisconsin's Blacklist on their 1984 EP, The Sign of Four. You know that vocalist had Rob Halford posters in his bedroom. Oh, you know it's true. Actually, not doing a half bad Halford impersonation there. Got to give him props on that. Really nice EP. All 4 tracks, really good, solid pounding metal, just like you want to hear it from that era. Another case of a band that put out a couple of demos leading up to this, got the EP out, and then faded off into obscurity. Never got that one big break, couldn't hold it together. Things didn't work out, but they did leave one cool relic in their wake. Now, this EP does show up fairly regularly. It's not the hardest thing in the world to track down, and it's not overly expensive either. So, hey, if you like that kind of priest-inspired metal, thought that was a cool clip, check them out. This is one you can track down. Won't break the bank trying to track down Blacklist Santa 4, but it will add really cool EP to your heavy metal vinyl collection. All right, so got a couple more to go. And next up, I love this one so much. Moving over to Cleveland and going to check in with a really odd one, a little bit, again, punky influence on this one, not just straight up metal, but really heavy at the same time. We are going to visit with Manimals. Oh yeah, that just happened right there. This is a 6-track EP they did in 1985, and we're going to listen to part of the title track, Blood is the Harvest. This one may take a little while to get going, but when it does, it rocks pretty hard. Let that one go a little longer, but it is an ass kicker. Manimals. Yeah, that's such a 1980s album title. Blood is the Harvest. This was a band that obviously had a theme and an inspiration. These guys, I will bet all of my Motorhead records, they saw Misfits play live a bunch back in the day. And they figured, hey, what if we took that idea, made it a little bit heavy metal, and made all the songs about 5 to 6 minutes long instead of like 2 minutes long? Well, they did it, and that's what you ended up with. And I just got to say, in terms of, playing up with, the whole sort of werewolf and vampire theme and such, right here, I mean, when you buy the giant fuzzy, werewolf boots to go with the outfit, you're committing to the project right there, man. Respect. Always really like this EP. It is very high octane, very fun, super catchy. It has, again, heavy Misfits vibe to it, just longer songs and a little more metalized. What more could you want out of something? Got several cool tracks on that one. I could sit here and play Manimals tracks over and over for a long time. The funny thing with Manimals is they didn't completely disappear off the map after releasing that one around 85. They were gone from a while though, but they resurfaced in 98 with a demo and actually put out a full album in 1999 called Horrorcore, which couldn't come up with a better title to suit them. I've heard the album. It's okay for what it is, but again, it's 14 years down the line. Don't think it was all three original members. So, whatever. But wait, there's more. One of the strangest releases I've ever come across showed up a few years after that. So 5 years later, in 2004, they ended up on a sampler that was done by Auburn Records. Now, nothing about that sounds too weird yet. Auburn was a big Cleveland heavy metal label in the late 90s, early 2000s. Auburn was getting some of the old catalog put back out. Manimals was a Cleveland area band. Okay, this kind of makes sense. What doesn't make sense about the whole thing, and I want to make sure I get this right, they appear on the sampler with Breaker, excellent band, arguably the best one that was on the Auburn roster. Also a band called Aftershock, who, sorry, I'm just not familiar with that one. And the whole affair is put together on this Auburn Records Cleveland Metal concert sampler sponsored by Best Buy. It's like a little promo CD, cardboard case. I don't have a copy to show, but if you look it up, it's got that huge, big yellow price tag with the Best Buy logo on it. It literally says, Best Buy, turn on the fun with Manimals. So very weird. How in the world did, Best Buy get tied in with Auburn Records for this weird sort of local area sampler with Breaker and Manimals still rocking out almost 20 years after the release of Blood is the Harvest? That's just weird. Blows my mind. But regardless, if you like what you heard there, the Manimals EP, again, it's one that will turn up from time to time. You're not going to have to trade your pancreas and throw in a kidney in order to get a copy of it. Cool release. I like that one quite a bit, and I'll give a quick shout out to Dan Edmond over at the Coliseum website. Dan was the first person who ever told me about that album. He had done a really cool write-up about it years ago, and reading it, I was just like, that sounds so crazy. I got to check that out, and I'm really glad I did because it's a killer. All right, we've got one more to check out this evening. We're going back to California, LA band, a group called Sound Barrier. And what we're looking at is 12-inch, 5-track EP from 1984, I believe, on this one. Yeah, this is 84. It's called Born to Rock, and I'm going to play probably a couple of clips off of this one because this EP is a smoker. Let's start with a little bit of a song called Raging Heart. It'll get better in a second. That is so good. We're going to run it back one more time with the track Born to Rock and check out a little bit of that one too. absolute anthemic scorcher there from Sound Barrier out of Los Angeles. Sound Barrier did a few other releases. This wasn't their only thing. They had put out an album in 1983. It was actually on MCA, if I'm remembering correctly. Checking my notes over here, so trying not to give you the wrong information. Yeah, Total Control came out in 83 on MCA Records based on the strength of one of their demos. I've heard that album. It's been a while since I played it. It doesn't sound anything like the EP that I'm playing clips from right now. It was a lot more laid back sounding. There's like one review I read for it that kind of quotes, it has like a little more, jazz, blues, fusion, a little bit of everything kind of mixed in. And yeah, that kind of fits my recollection, is that it just really didn't have a direction to it and didn't make much of an impression. So MCA dropped them and they bounced back the next year with the self-released EP, Born to Rock, and this time they had a very clear vision of what they wanted to do, and they wanted to play some pure fucking heavy metal, and they did it incredibly well. 5 tracks on it, so I guess, again, technically mini album rather than EP, but everything on here is great. How great is it, you ask? Well, one of the 5 songs is a cover of Born to Be Wild, and it's actually not bad. Now, let's face it, it's an iconic song. We all know it, and none of us ever need to really hear it again. We've all heard that song enough. I actually don't mind sitting through the Sound Barrier cover of Born to Be Wild. That's how good these guys were. They were completely firing on all 8 with the release of this. As you probably noticed from the picture, yes, all African-American members in the band, pretty rare in heavy metal, especially in the 1980s. The band that always gets the most attention, of course, was Black Death out of the Cleveland area, which did some amazing songs, but I always thought, this was the band that was really overlooked. If you're looking for, the best band featuring an African-American lineup from heavy metal, it's Sound Barrier. It's not Black Death. Sorry to folks that are big Black Death fans, but no. I'll take Sound Barrier over them any day of the week. These guys were awesome. After the EP, they got picked up by Metal Blade Records and did make one album called Speed of Light. I think it came out in 86, so 2 years after the EP. And it's a very good album, too. So I remember maybe the production's a little funny on it or something, but the songwriting is still very anthemic, pure, uplifting, sing-along kind of heavy metal. Really, really good stuff. So I like the EP better than the album, but the album is definitely worth checking out as well. Now, late 86, early 87, the band had some lineup changes. Little footnote in history, they temporarily were joined by Alex Massey, the sort of guitar virtuoso fellow. Yeah, he was a member of Sound Barrier for a little while. Now, he didn't play on any of their releases. He joined up after Speed of Light had already been released. So Massey was in the band, but then there were some other, as I understand it, there were some other lineup instabilities, and eventually the band fell apart. And so Alex and several of the members went and formed the original lineup of his self-titled Massey project. So yeah, these guys had some life after Sound Barrier. Didn't quite get over the hump and have that big break with Sound Barrier, but they did move on and play in Alex's project after that. So yeah, kind of a cool little footnote that Sound Barrier had this weird connection with Massey's band. All right, I'm out of records. Sad. These guys all rocked pretty good tonight, I thought. But now it's time for you to talk metal in the comments down below. Let me know, what did you think? How did all these sound? Any hardcore fans out there? You know you want a pair of those werewolf boots. You know you do. But yeah, leave a comment down below. Let me know what you thought of some of these. And if you have some suggestions for other things in this vein that I should be checking out from the golden age of heavy metal. Until next time, everybody take care. Check out some cool heavy metal. And as always, keep banging your heads.